Sunday's win over Canuck might have been a step in the right direction, but let's not kid ourselves. Celtic's midfield continues to be the elephant in the room, and you lot aren't staying quiet about it either. I went through hundreds of comments, and easily more than 80% of them were circling the same issue. The heart of the pitch is just not working. That center of the park, which used to be the engine room of this team, now feels more like a stalled car in the middle of the motorway. It's not even just a matter of opinion anymore. Anyone watching recent games can see that something's off. There's a flatness to our play, a lack of urgency, a serious shortage of creativity. And while Sunday gave us some bright moments, most notably from Tinky and Iano, the core issue remains the same. Celtic's midfield is simply not controlling games the way it should. Take Josh's comment, for example. He was straight to the point. The midfield isn't working and needs to be rebuilt. He even suggested benching the usual trio for the upcoming match against Partick. And honestly, I'd agree with that. There's no one in that current midfield three who you could say has nailed down their place on merit lately. Then there's John Watt saying it's been ages since our midfield actually dominated a match. And again, he's bang on. It's been far too long since we've seen any proper balance in that area. Let's be real, whether it's McGregor, Negrin, or Hatate, none of them have shown anything close to top form. And yet they keep starting. That's the worrying part. When the bigger fixtures roll around, Brendan Rodgers just seems to go back to the same names, almost like he doesn't trust anyone else, which makes you wonder what's actually happening behind the scenes. You look at someone like Bernardo, he's barely had a sniff this season. 72 minutes of football. That's it. That's all he's managed to get on the pitch competitively. And that's not due to injury. That's a manager's choice. Connor McKenzie even said it. It's getting genuinely frustrating to see a guy who started the Scottish Cup final just a few months ago suddenly turn invisible. How do you go from that to being the sixth-choice midfielder? It doesn't add up. Now, some folk have speculated. Has Bernardo asked to leave? Did he clash with the manager over the summer? We don't know. That's just speculation. But when Rodgers was asked about it a while back, his answer didn't exactly settle things. Said it was a competitive squad, lots of good players, blah blah. The usual non-answer when there's clearly more going on under the surface. And then there's Ari Engels. I know he divides opinion, but the fact he couldn't even get off the bench against Canuck says a lot. Same goes for Luke McCowan, solid player, but are we really seeing him as the guy to solve our midfield issues? There's a big difference between being a good squad option and being a consistent Celtic starter, especially when you're up against the likes of Red Star next week. The truth is, the midfield has gone stale. There's no spark. There's no tempo. It's just safe. It's too safe. Sideways passes, predictable patterns, and not enough risk-taking. That's the part that's really killing us. You watch a game, and you're halfway through before you realize Hatate is even on the pitch. And that's not the Hatate we've seen in the past. That's not the guy who used to drive at defenders, try the unexpected, take responsibility. It's like he's vanished inside the system. With Negrin, I'll cut him a bit of slack. He's new, still adapting, still finding his place. But even so, we brought him in to add something different, and he's not doing that yet. We knew he wasn't a speed merchant, fine. But we expected control, vision, maybe a bit of craft. So far, that's been missing. It's not all on him, but the midfield as a whole is crying out for a shake-up. McGregor, I think, is the most complex case. He's not been terrible. He's not dragging the team down the way the others might be. But even he looks like a passenger at times, and that's not the McGregor we've come to rely on. The guy who used to dictate the tempo, who used to pull strings, we're seeing flashes, not consistency. And I can't help but think that if you put better players in form alongside him, you'd get more out of him. So here's the question. Do we just rip it up for Partick and start fresh? I'd say yes. And I'm not saying bench the big names forever. But this is a chance to try something else. Give Bernardo minutes. Give Engels a shot. Heck, even experiment with someone like Balikwisha in a central role. Sounds mad. Maybe not as mad as sticking with a midfield that's clearly not working. And here's the thing. Balikwisha's been used as a winger most of his career, but if you look at what Antwerp did with him at the start of the season, he was playing more centrally. They run a back five, get their width from fullbacks, and that allowed him to play tucked inside. And honestly, that could work here too, because he's not lightning fast. He's technical, he's tidy in possession, he's got a good press. Maybe he's not a pure winger. Maybe he's a number 10. So imagine this. Tinky on the left, Maeda on the right. Iano through the middle up top. And then behind them, McGregor holding with someone like Balikwisha and maybe Engels or Bernardo either side. That's not the worst idea, is it? It's at least something different. And right now, doing something different might be exactly what this team needs. Because what we saw from Tinky on Sunday, that was real quality. He looked like the player we were promised. He brought energy, flair, ideas, all the things that have been missing. One spark like that can lift a whole team. We've seen it before. You bring in one new face who's hungry, full of life, and suddenly the whole dressing room starts to believe again. And Iano, credit to him. Big moment, big pressure, and he buries that penalty like he's been doing it for years. Calm as you like. It wasn't just the goal either, it was the attitude, the body language. Like he's finally ready to prove something. That's what we need right now, players who want it. Players with a bit of edge, a bit of bite. Not ones just going through the motions. We've seen this before. Think back to when Jeremy Frimpong came in. The team wasn't flying, but his arrival changed the whole vibe. He had that spark, that fearlessness. And suddenly everyone else upped their game. Maybe Tinky or Iano can do the same. Maybe they can be the catalyst to get things moving again. Because let's be honest, Belgrade next week is going to be a massive test. And if we roll out that same old midfield trio, it's hard to see us getting much joy. They've had plenty of chances, and it's just not clicking. Time for a shake-up. Time to take some risks. And if Brendan Rodgers is serious about this team improving, then it's not just about tactics and systems. It's about picking players on form, not reputation. You've got talent in the squad. Use it. Mix things up. Give guys like Bernardo and Balikwisha the minutes to show what they can do. It's not about writing anyone off. It's about trying something new. Because the old formula isn't working. Not in the league. Not in Europe. And definitely not in midfield. And while we're still on this midfield mess, let's talk about something that gets brushed under the carpet far too often. The idea that just because a player has done it before for Celtic, he should keep his place. Until Kingdom Come. That sort of thinking is exactly what's keeping us stuck in this loop. We're waiting and waiting for players to rediscover form that hasn't been there in months. And during that wait, we're dropping points, struggling in Europe, and letting matches pass us by without a shred of control in the center of the park. Hatate is the perfect example of this. Once a standout, now he's drifting through games like a ghost. And I don't say that to be dramatic. I say it because when you watch Celtic play lately, you genuinely forget he's on the pitch until the commentator mentions his name. That's how far he's fallen from the levels he used to set. There was a time when everything good flowed through him. The risk-taking, the movement, the clever little passes between the lines. He was involved in everything. Now, it's like he's playing within himself, as if he's afraid to make a mistake. That's not the Hatate Celtic fans fell in love with. And the longer we keep rolling him out hoping he'll snap out of it, the more we let others who are hungry for a chance rot on the bench. I get it though. Managers have their favorites. Players who've earned trust over time. And when the pressure's on, it's tempting to go back to what feels familiar. Brendan Rodgers has shown time and again that he values experience and loyalty. But there's a fine line between trusting your core players and ignoring the need for change. You can't keep waiting forever. And that brings me to Paulo Bernardo. The silence around him is almost deafening. We're not even seeing 10-minute cameos anymore. No game time at all. That alone would be concerning in any context. But it's downright baffling when the current midfield is struggling so badly. What exactly does he need to do to earn a shot? It's not like we're in a golden era of midfield dominance, and he's just unlucky to be behind 3 Ballon d'Or contenders. No, he's behind players who are off form, playing safe, and offering very little impact. Now, I'm not saying Bernardo is the savior. I'm not saying he should walk into the starting 11 and fix everything overnight. But when the options in front of him are underperforming, you've got to at least try something else. Even just to see if it changes the tempo or brings out something new in others. Maybe McGregor looks sharper next to a different type of player. Maybe the team presses better with someone like Bernardo who, despite his flaws, at least tries to be positive and direct when he gets on the ball. The same applies to Ari Engels. He had his chance at Ibrox, and yes, it didn't go well. He was poor. But is one bad game enough to exile him completely? Because if we're going by that logic, then half the squad should be nowhere near the pitch next week. The inconsistency in how players are judged is maddening. Some get endless chances. Others are written off after one off day. It's not sustainable. It's not fair either. and it's hurting the team. And while we're at it, let's not forget that the transfer window didn't exactly solve much. We've added more wide players than we know what to do with. Yet here we are, scrambling for central midfield solutions. Michel Balikwisha has shown promise, no doubt. But again, he looks more like a guy who belongs in the middle of the park rather than hugging the touchline. He's got control, technique, that low center of gravity that makes him hard to dispossess. Maybe he's not a pure number 10, but with how flat we've been in that area, he might be the best option we've got right now. There's been talk that he played more centrally for Antwerp in a 3-5-2 setup earlier this season. And the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. He's not rapid, but he's clever. He knows how to work angles, how to link up. And right now, we need someone who can play between the lines with a bit of imagination. So why not give him a go? What's the harm in trying something different when the current setup clearly isn't working? Of course, every change in midfield means reshuffling other areas. That right wing, for example, is starting to look like the Bermuda Triangle. Players go in, nothing comes out. If Balikwisha moves centrally, who covers the wide role? Maeda? Maybe. He's done it before under Ange. It's not ideal, but it's workable, especially if it allows us to fix the core issue, which is the complete lack of bite and urgency in midfield. Now, on the flip side, we've got to give credit where it's due. Sunday wasn't a perfect performance, but it was a win, and it gave us glimpses of what could be. Tinky looked electric. Exactly the sort of player we've been crying out for: pace, directness, confidence. He didn't just play safe. He got at defenders. He tried things. That alone is refreshing. Iano's penalty was another high point. Cool as you like, and in a pressure moment too. The way he took it, with that kind of composure, tells you there's belief in there. And belief is exactly what this squad has been lacking lately. Iano even said after the match that he wants to move forward and forget about what happened in January, the failed move to Celtic. And that's fair enough. But what matters now is whether he's ready to step up, not just once, but consistently. Because this club doesn't need one-off moments. We need players who can carry form and be counted on in big games. If he can become that guy, against all odds, it changes the entire dynamic. I'm not ready to crown him a star just yet, but you can't ignore the signs. That penalty, the body language, the attitude, it all pointed to someone who's starting to believe in himself again. And maybe that belief can ripple through the squad. It only takes one or two to step up and show fight, and suddenly the whole dressing room feels different. And let's be honest, we need that energy badly, especially with Red Star looming. That's a match where you need everything clicking: the midfield, the attack, the transitions. And right now we're miles off. So if the new boys can inject a bit of life into this team, then great. Let them run with it. Let's not hold back because someone else used to be better 6 months ago. Football moves fast. Form matters. Momentum matters. And right now, the ones who are showing even a spark, they've got to be given the platform. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are swirling around Glasgow once again, and this time the focus is firmly on Brendan Rodgers. The Celtic manager, who returned to Parkhead with great fanfare, now finds himself at the center of growing speculation that his second spell in charge may be nearing its end. The talk has been fueled by quiet murmurs from within the club and a noticeable unease in recent press conferences, where Rodgers has appeared guarded, even distant, when asked about the long-term project he once championed so passionately. Sources close to the dressing room suggest that tension has been simmering for weeks. While results on the pitch have been steady, there is a sense that Rodgers has struggled to replicate the spark of his first tenure. The supporters, fiercely loyal and quick to voice their feelings, have picked up on his change in tone, and social media has been buzzing with theories about whether the Northern Irishman is preparing to walk away. The timing only adds to the intrigue. Celtic are still battling on multiple fronts, but the board's ambitions in Europe and the constant pressure of maintaining dominance domestically appear to be wearing heavy on Rodgers. Some insiders hint that there have been disagreements behind the scenes over recruitment and the club's broader vision. Others insist that Rodgers, a man driven by high standards and an eye for bigger stages, could be tempted by opportunities elsewhere. What remains undeniable is the shadow of uncertainty now hanging over Parkhead. Rumour, of course, is part of football life in Scotland, where the spotlight burns brighter than most places. Yet this particular murmur feels different, more persistent, and far less easy to dismiss. Should Rodgers depart, it would send shockwaves through Celtic supporters, reopening old wounds from his previous departure and leaving the board scrambling for a steady hand to guide the team forward. For now, the chatter remains just that, talk, speculation, the hum of a restless city. But with every passing day, the sense grows that Brendan Rodgers' time at Celtic may be entering its final chapter, and that the next twist in this story could arrive sooner than many expect. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.